Hi, everyone. Pasquale Scuderi, Superintendent, Alameda Unified School District. We haven't come to you in this type of format in a while. So we thought as we headed into spring break, we might cover a few big topics, things we're working on and looking at the district level. We've certainly got a lot of questions about the state of district finances or how or whether any of the kind of chaotic rhetoric or dramatic movement that we're seeing at the federal level might impact AUSD and others financially. That's an understandable question given what we're getting and seeing at the federal level. And when you combine that with the fact that a growing number of districts in our state are experiencing financial stress, more districts making cuts, more districts submitting qualified or negative budgets, you understand the questions. So without being overconfident about the future, I want to put a few things in context and again, just hopefully articulate what I think is a comparably stable position that we've put ourselves here in AUSD. Not a perfect one, but again, comparably stable. Let's talk about federal funding for a moment and put it in context. Federal categorical dollars do play an important role in our district, but they really only make up 3% of our overall budget. That's not to suggest in any way that a reduction or an elimination of those funds wouldn't hurt or require some very difficult management. But just to say that if anything were to happen to those funds, it could likely get managed. It won't be easy. I'm not saying it won't hurt, but it could be managed given the fact that we're talking about 3% of our overall operating budget. Now, having said that, there is no indication, despite all of the talk about eliminating the Department of Education, that funding for the two chief streams of federal revenue in our district, there's no indication that those would be cut. That is special education funding and what we call major federal programs funding. Major federal programs addresses a lot of different needs. So as I said before, any reduction or elimination would have an impact. I'm just suggesting that we could manage it given that we're talking about 3%. On the other side of the ledger is special education. Special education costs are about $42 million annually here in Alameda Unified. Federal dollars cover only about 6% of that overall obligation. Now, again, I'll say it as many times as I have to. I am not in any way suggesting that we could easily do without this funding, but some of the anxiety that I've heard and some of the questions we've gotten from the community, I think, warrants us at least putting the situation we're trying to control in context. No indication that this funding is going to go away. That is not, that doesn't mean that we aren't paying attention to any and all developments or messaging from the federal government relative to these funds anytime and every time it comes up. Again, not trying to be overconfident, but I think we have consistently here in AUSD certainly over the past 5-6 years have consistently achieved positive budget certifications at both the county and the state level. I think that's due in part to many things, but two chief factors I'd like to highlight are one, the generosity of our community. Alameda voters have passed 2 education-related parcel taxes and 1 general obligation bond for facilities improvement in just the past 5 years. That's a tremendous amount of local support that has made a big difference, particularly in uncertain times like the ones we are looking at. We've internally, in my view, been very disciplined with one-time money. We have spent lower annual amounts over long periods of time. Part of that is philosophical. We have not taken $500 in one-time money, and $500 is just a simple example. $500 that's come from either a federal grant or through relief funding at the state level, you name it. We have never taken that money and said, let's spend that $500 next year. Instead, we've sort of methodically and judiciously looked at how we could help kids over time. And one of the things that helps is consistency. So instead of spending that $500 as soon as we get it, we've been looking over the past several years for ways that we could spend $100 a year for 5 years instead of that $500 in 1 year. It's part of the reason some of the things we invested in as far back as COVID are still online. And it's part of the reason that we are not facing the steep fiscal cliffs that a lot of folks in the region and the state are facing. Does that mean we'll be immune to anything and everything that comes down in an erratic political climate around education? No, we're not going to be fully immune. I just think we're in a position of some stability to better navigate and try to manage anything that comes our way as a result of those things. While we were talking about the community and contributions, let's quickly make sure that folks in the community know how your money, your dollars that are contributed to our district via the Measure B bond and Measure I before that are taking shape. Anything you have more interest in learning about in terms of facilities projects in our district, please go to our website. There's comprehensive detail on these projects. We've labeled some of them the improvements at Kauffman Auditorium, which we expect to be completed by September of 25. I think are going to be a great set of upgrades for our visual and performing arts programs, for community and school events, and all types of usage there in Kauffman Auditorium. Wood Middle School, if you've been anywhere in the vicinity of Grand and Otis, you can see that we are completely rebuilding that school with the exception of one or two structures there. We expect that to be completed by June of 2026. After some fits and starts with the EHS athletic field, we are well underway with that project on that campus, and we are hoping that that field, new track, new field, new bleachers, new lighting system, PA system will be available for our student athletes and PE programs by mid to late November of 2025. The AHS Swim Center, if you've been along Oak Street at all, you see yet another place where there's a lot of construction and modernization happening. Some slight delays with that project, but we're steadily getting back on track, and we are hoping that that facility will be up and running for students and segments of the community by spring of 2026. And then down below the title slide, even further out, Otis Elementary School will get a complete rebuild. We're projecting a 2028 start date for that. Some other facilities/school safety things that we're paying attention to. Alameda High School is a beautiful facility. We don't in any way want to give it the look of a correctional facility, but we've had a few safety-related episodes over the last couple of years that had me and others thinking that we need some notable upgrades to perimeter security at that campus. And so you will see that work start to happen this summer. Similarly, at Encinal Junior Senior, we'll also see fencing going up as we speak, with a good chunk of that perimeter project being done, hopefully, on the other side of spring break. And the upgrades in relation to Measure B won't just stop there. You can see here that between 2026 and 2031, a lot more projects coming online to benefit ultimately all of our students in AUSD who matriculate up through our middle and high schools. Turning to some student news, we were very pleased and proud and appreciative of the work of so many people, from our school site level to our administrators to our LGBTQ plus liaison at the district here to some of our student services team. The Equality California Institute does a Safe and Supportive Schools report card. And on the 2024, the just completed data for that survey, AUSD placed 7th out of about 150 districts who submitted data for that survey. So again, that is a big honor. I will kind of paraphrase our board vice president, Ryan Lalone, that says this is indicative of good steps and progress and a commitment to support all of our students, but that there is more work to do. A nice kind of affirming quote from our board vice president that we include here, and you can read more of that quote and link to the Equality California report in the March 23rd newsletter that we sent out. As we head into spring break, let's finish with some additional good news. The California Department of Education gives out an award called California Distinguished Schools. This year, just 336 of almost 6,000 Elementary schools across the state received that award. So huge appreciation, acknowledgement for the teams at Love Elementary School and Bay Farm Elementary School. These are multi-metric awards that consider both exemplary student performance and schools who are working demonstrably to close gaps in outcomes for students. So to our classroom teachers, our classified staff, our volunteers, our leadership at those schools, thank you so much for bringing these honors to our school and to our district. In closing, for calendar, hopefully now is not the first time you're hearing that spring break runs next week, April 7th to the 11th. Memorial Day is DOTS May, with a 3-day weekend around May 26th. And then hard to believe, but on the other side of spring break, just 38, maybe 39, I could be off by a day, days of instruction left with the 24-25 school year coming to a conclusion on June 5th. And if you are really planning ahead, August 11th is when our 25-26 school year will start. So again, just a brief look at some of the big projects and big picture things that are happening here in AUSD. I hope very much that all of you enjoy a restful spring break. A deep appreciation to our staff for your daily grind and commitment, and to our community for entrusting us not only with your tax dollars, but far more importantly, with your students as we together try to broker and design the best futures possible through our public education system here in Alameda. Thanks, and talk to you soon.